Hello, and welcome to Scott's Odyssey. Coming out of the 1800s and into the 1900s, there was an industrial demand for coal to fire the steel industry of the world. And this part of Pennsylvania was not different. Unfortunately, when coal and steel dried up, so did the need for towns built around them. Welcome to the ghost town of Wayrum. See you in a minute. Due to technical issues beyond my control, this video is going to be a little bit different than the rest. Essentially, I got a new microphone and I didn't test it before I went out and, well, ended up with a total and complete lack of recorded audio. So let's see how this goes, shall we? Just before and during the time of canals and railroads, there was a lot of lumber, iron, limestone, and coal mining towns in central Pennsylvania. Most of them would appear overnight and be gone just as quickly as they appeared. Many of them were fully furnished locations on the premises of the actual industrial site and housed their workers as part of the pay agreement they received, partly because the work may have been seasonal or partly it was much more cost effective for the company performing the work to provide the shanties, the shelters, or the houses, as well as mass-produced food, instead of leaving those burdens on their workers. That brings us to today, where those locations that sprung up overnight and disappeared the next day have left behind what we refer to as ghost towns. For this new series, I will be traveling along one of Pennsylvania's most renowned sites of these overnight villages called the Pennsylvania Ghost Town Trail. The Ghost Town Trail is currently a 36-mile rail trail in Pennsylvania that starts in Blacklick, Indiana County and ends in Ebensburg, Cambria County, with a few offshoots or branches that make the trail over 46 miles in length. For no reason other than my own curiosity, the first location we will hit on this trail is the ghost town of Wehrum. The Lackawanna Coal and Coke Company, one of literally hundreds of coal and coke companies in Pennsylvania, had just established rights to this section of the Clarion Quadrangle of the southeast corner of Clarion County, PA. The company had acquired approximately 20,000 acres of land in Buffington Township from the Blacklick Land and Improvement Company in an area of 255 square miles of mining territory of the Clarion Quadrangle. So, needless to say, 20,000 acres. It was not very big at all. In 1901, two coal tycoons by the names of Judge A.V. Barker and the uncle of Frank Delano Roosevelt, Warren Delano, built the non-union company town of Wehrum, named after Henry Wayrum, who was the general manager of the Lackawanna Iron and Steel Company, founded by the Scranton family, who founded, well, Scranton in 1856 and Lackawanna County in 1878. From the interpretive information provided by the county, the town consisted of 6 streets, although, according to the information I have and what I'm looking at on maps, there's actually 9 streets, but I'm not sure if the records I have were the original plant plans or what was actually built during the time. Regardless of all of that, the names of the streets running north to south were A Street, Broadway, 1st Street, 2nd Street, 3rd Street, and 4th Street. Running east to west were Chestnut Street, Walnut Street, and the Bowery. In addition to this large neighborhood, there were 250 homes, a bank, a hotel, the company store, a post office, a part-time school, part-time theater building, the Wayrum Methodist Episcopal Church, and Saints Peter and Paul Russian Orthodox Greek Catholic Church. It's important to note that although the Methodist Church, which was less than 20 feet from the Catholic Church, was on the original plant plans, the Methodist Church was not an official piece of property owned by the Lackawanna Coal and Coke Company. The bituminous coal mined at this location was shipped up to Buffalo and Rochester, New York, as well as Pittsburgh, on the Buffalo, Rochester, and Pittsburgh Railroad. The majority of the coal was specifically shipped to the Lackawanna Iron and Steel Company that had just relocated to the Buffalo suburbs. Wayrum officially became the most productive coal mining plant in the county, with just over 1,000 employees and a production rate of 5,000 tons of coal per day. The original mines were 500 feet long graded shafts in order to effectively move over 10 tons of coal per load, with worker shafts and cage lifts that dropped nearly 200 feet underground. Once the coal reached the surface, it was lifted by one of the largest and most powerful Marion steam shovels in order to quickly and completely load the coal into a waiting train car in just under 2 minutes. On June 23, 1909, an unknown number of workers had entered mine number 4 and were performing coal blasting in preparation for the Friday haul. It was estimated that between 80 to 100 men were working the mine that morning. At 7:30 a.m., a loud thunder and small earthquake shook the entire town, followed by a cloud of dust that blew out of the mining slope. The workers' mine shaft cage, which was at the bottom of the shaft, was now visibly at the top. The 12 miners and workers whom were at the top of the shaft were thrown to the ground and knocked unconscious. The noise created by this explosion was so loud that it was heard nearly 3 miles away. The women of Wayrum ran screaming down to the mine location. One man, John Orris, whom had lost his leg to the mine in 1905, walked out of the mine at 11:30 a.m. without a scratch. 2 other men, Fraser and Wehrum, were just leaving their shifts as pump workers and were walking up the 500-foot graded shaft when the explosion took place. Both men survived the blast, but both men also had their pants burned off of their bodies. The bodies of the dead were laid on the floor of the machine shop to be counted, and then to the livery stable to be hosed down, and then kept there as a temporary morgue. A wagon from Johnstown made many trips in order to bring coffins, and the bodies were moved from the stables to their respective homes for their wake and funeral preparations. Each member whom died were buried in accordance to their nationality and in their respective cemeteries or graveyards. Those whom nationally could not be identified or whose family could not be found were labeled as Hungarians and buried in the Roman Orthodox cemetery just north of Wayrum. There was only one American who died in this accident. He was buried in Pittsburgh. All told, the total death toll was 21. Because the majority of the mine was left undamaged, it reopened on July 2nd of 1909. In 1922, the Bethlehem Cuba Mining Company took over the Wayrum Works and merged it with the Bethlehem Steel Company. The mine unexpectedly closed in 1929. The houses were sold off for lumber reuse, the mine buildings were salvaged for metal, and by 1932 all that was left was a school, a single house, a couple of mine sheds, a cemetery, a bony pile or spoil tip of waste material, and the Wayrum Reservoir and Dam. The reservoir and dam both being washed away in the flood of 1977. If you haven't already, remember to click like on this video and to subscribe for more ODDySEEy stories of who we once were. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.